What guys? Welcome back to one of my random crap videos. Now I was checking through my nostalgia thing since I got it all
What's
unthemed
up, guys, and welcome
back.
back
So
to
this is
another nostalgia videos, and this is going to be one of my nostalgia videos. Well, I'm going to have live TV on, that light on.
so
So,
I did live
and
TV
also
on
live.
that one. So the next video that I'm planning on doing that though, I'm also planning on doing live TV with the light on. So then I have live TV with lights on done. Then I would also need to do that with good old YouTube. So I'm planning on also having uh, the two parts with the light on for YouTube. So then I would only need to do lights off. So yeah, and today I'm going to do 2 hours of Dorothy and also one of my nostalgia videos, part 10 already. So yeah. What's up guys, and welcome back to one of my nostalgia videos, and this is the one where it's a part 10. So basically for this I'll have Thad light on, and a few without a light on. So yeah. So I'm just going to go get a snack here. So yeah, there's that, and a drink. And I already have Mountain Dew. Oh, and also I might expand some of my YouTube channels into different languages.
every girl who looks at me obsessed with me, it only works on my girls. So I asked you guys to submit some specific superpowers, and hey, these are some pretty awesome powers. For now, I'm going to create downsides for every last one of these powers and make you not want them anymore. Some of y'all think you're clever, making them foolproof, thinking you can outsmart me, but no, you can't. You're going to wish you had never made a submission. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Hey Joshi, my superpower, I would like to be super intelligent, at least 400 IQ. Damn. Think about it. You can become a detective and solve every case without trouble. You could be a scientist and find the cure to cancer. There is so much you can do with this power. I'm curious to see how this will be a bad power. By the way, your videos are awesome. Keep up the good work. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate that. I'm about to screw you over. So you want to be smart, huh? Okay, yeah. Granted, you're smart, but you look like this. Pretty much anytime you're thinking about something, you have a crazy headache. Unless you completely rest your brain, unless you're like sleeping, you get a crazy headache. But that's not all. So you say you want to solve cases and be a detective. You say you want to cure cancer? Okay, yeah, sure. From now on, you are the best detective in the world, and you can solve every case. No criminal gets away with what they do. Everybody knows that you're the best detective in the world. People are going to want to continue committing crimes. They're going to want to jack that car. They're going to want to rob that bank. But they can't because of you. You're in the way of them committing crimes. So everybody's after you. All the criminals are gunning for you. You're super smart to help you evade them for a while, but eventually they'll work together and they might outsmart you. But that's not all. You want to be a scientist and cure cancer. You cure all types of cancer. Hospitals are losing a lot of money because you're curing them. There's no more cancer treatments, there's no more chemotherapy. It's you. Hospitals are also after you because they want to make their money back. Everyone's after you. You're getting headaches. And your head is the size of Sheen, so it's not going to be like it's hard to find you. So yeah, you can have your super smarts, but, you know, with these downsides. So good luck. Matter manipulation with 2 chili emojis. Okay, it's pretty clear what you're going to do with this power. You want to make that thing bigger. But since you cannot create or destroy matter, you can manipulate it, but you can't create or destroy matter. That's the law of conservation of matter. So if you do make that thing bigger, it's not just growing organically. You're taking it from someone else. So you're basically getting somebody else's, and somebody else's is going down. It could be somebody close to you, somebody random, you don't know. Just a random person, and it doesn't change color to match you. It's like, it could be from an albino person. So you'll have like tie-dye stuff, it won't look right. And if you try to return it back, you don't know if it'll return yours or theirs. So you might get rid of your original meat and have just theirs. So yeah, you can tamper with it. It'll be bigger, yeah, sure. It just won't look right because it'll be part of somebody else's. You want unlimited water? Yeah, sure. There's so much water in the world. You can have a glass of water. You can make it unlimited. Sure, yeah, fine. But meat? A body part? This could come in handy. Let's say you lose a pinky. You can grow another pinky. It'll be somebody else's pinky, but you can grow another pinky. But the thing is, the person whose pinky was taken, they know that you took their pinky and they're gunning after you. They're hunting you until they get their pinky back. It's like the same thing as the snail. Eventually, they'll get you. They could be your neighbor, somebody on the other side of the world. It doesn't matter. Once you take their pinky, it is their life purpose to get it back. So you can take body parts at your own risk. Eventually, they will come get it back. I feel like I looked failed this one. This one has a slight downside, but it's not enough to make you not want the power. I gotta bring it even harder next time. Make anyone's balls itch at any time for as long as you want. Not just a regular itch, like an itch that you really have to really scratch. It can't wait. Doesn't even matter if you don't have balls. You still feel it where they would be. I just think this would be funny to use on people I don't like. So you want to make people's balls itch whether they have balls or not. Okay, I guess. That's very evil. You could have chosen any power and you chose that. But okay, I'm going to make you not want it anymore. So yes, you can make people's balls itch. But whenever you're not actively making somebody else's balls itch, your balls itch. You're constantly in a state of itchy balls. But whenever you use your power and you pass it on to somebody else, you are relieved of the itchiness. But whenever that person scratches it and the itch goes away, it goes right back to you. So you're like basically playing tag, playing tennis, back and forth. So you can constantly make somebody else's balls itch back and forth if they keep scratching and going back to you. And it only works, the power only works when you can see them. So if you can't see them, you're just stuck with itchy balls. So like when you're sleeping, you're trying to go to sleep, and you have nobody to go to sleep next to you, you're cooked. You just got itchy balls, bro. But if you're like awake and in class, let's say you don't like your professor, yeah, sure. Back and forth playing tennis, itchy balls, he'll scratch them, boom, boom, back to you. So it's like, you really have no rest. You're always using your power. You wanted the power, right? So yeah, you get to use it all the time. But you're just playing tennis, you're never able to rest. And then when you sleep, You got itchy balls, bro. I don't know, man. You could luck out and find somebody who just doesn't have any arms. They can't scratch it, but they'll find a way to scratch it. I don't know. This is crazy. So yeah, you were in a constant state of itchy balls, and that's your only way of soothing yourself. You can scratch it as much as you want, but your only way to truly soothe yourself is to pass it on to somebody else. But it always goes back to you once they scratch or relieve their itch. The ability to freeze time to do you know what to people. Oh no. Love your vids, Josh. Keep up the good work and praise God. Don't try to give me that love your vids. You just said you wanted to blank people. We're gonna get this guy out of here. So whenever you use this freeze time power, your heart stops beating. So you can't really enjoy being in the frozen time. But if you try to pull some Gen V stuff, if you know, anytime you touch anything or anyone, it unfreezes time. You go back to normal. So you can't like attack anybody. You can't steal things from people because if you try to touch what's in their pocket or whatever, it unfreezes time. Put this guy in prison, I ain't gonna lie. I could give you something way more sinister, but nah. I wish I could have the power to have determination to finish something I really want to do. So, if I really wanted to clean something, I would only do that until it's finished. And I love your content. Thank you for everything that you post. I really appreciate that. I try. Thank you so much. Okay, so yes, you now have the power of determination. If you set your mind to do something, you're gonna do that and that only until it's finished. Let's say you're cleaning your house. You just started cleaning your house. You have so much to go. Boom! Somebody breaks into your house, kidnaps your family. You can't do anything about it. You have to finish cleaning. You can't break free from this. That's your power. That's what you chose to do. You're not gonna do anything else until you finish your task. So, this cleaning could take hours, and the guy's getting away with your family. You can't do anything about it. So yeah, you're pretty much stuck. Let's say you're studying. You're studying for a test. You got 4 hours of studying to do. You just started. The house starts burning down. You can't stop studying. The house is burning down around you. But that's the power you chose. I mean, hey, y'all thought you could outsmart me, but you can't. I got something for all of y'all. The ability to play cards perfectly. For example, if you're playing poker, you know exactly when to hold or raise and can estimate the other person's hand based on the way the cards are. This would low-key be a casino cheat code. Good luck. Anyways, God bless. Keep up the good work. Yes, you can now play cards perfectly. Whenever you do this, you win all the time. They accuse you of cheating every single time, and they genuinely try to kill you about it. So, I mean, hey, if you want to win casually amongst friends, yeah, sure. They're going to accuse you of cheating, but they're not going to try to kill you. You know, you won't be able to actually enjoy your wins. Nobody will ever believe that you won legitimately. You're always going to get accused of cheating. Whenever you go to a casino, they're going to try to kill you. They don't play about their money. They're going to try to kill you every time. If you just keep it amongst friends, if you try to bet money against them, you're never going to get the money because they're always going to think you cheated, no matter what. You're going to win all the time, yeah, sure, but you can't make any money off of it. So, and you know what? You don't know that the casino people are going to try to kill you until they actually do. Like, I'm telling you they are going to try to kill you, but you don't know this information until you actually try it in the casino. So, yeah, you're going to have to actually try to escape killers. So, yeah, good luck. I wish I could teleport anywhere. Imagine how much time you would save. Love the videos, Josh. God is good. Yes, he is. And so you want to teleport, huh? You can teleport anywhere. You have the power to teleport, but it's not as precise as you would like. It's not like, okay, I want to teleport to class. Boom, you're in the classroom. No. You teleport in a 50-foot radius of wherever you want to teleport. So let's say the classroom is down the block. You could teleport 50 feet above the classroom and start falling. You could teleport 50 feet under it and get buried. You could teleport like 10 feet next to the classroom and you teleport like inside a person. And one of y'all would explode. I don't know which one, but one of y'all would explode. Probably the person. You would traumatize a lot of people with that. So yeah, if you teleported inside of a tree, you're cooked. You're exploding. Detectives would never be able to figure out what happened. Oh my gosh. That sounds terrible. That's a terrible way to go. I mean, that's what you wanted, bro. You get unprecise teleportation. Of course, you can't luck out and teleport where you want to go, but it's a small chance of that. So I would say go for open areas. That's your best bet. Just hope you don't teleport underneath or above. The ability to kill children from across the world? Yeah. You're terminally ill and you have 10 seconds to live. Yeah, that's your downside. The ability to jump through mirrors or reflective surfaces would be extremely useful. If I'm in a dangerous situation, I can jump through a mirror into another across the globe. Or if I need to get somewhere fast, boom, jump into the ocean. Any surface that you can see your reflection is viable. Any puddle, CRT monitor, or tile are fair game. Okay, yeah, sure. You can jump into any puddle or reflective surface and travel across the globe. But it's random. You don't know where you're going. the harvest is sold, you get a cut of the profits. The cannabis market is booming, and the returns are huge, massive even. So you keep investing, possibly spending their entire savings. And then, one day, it's all gone. That's exactly what happened to thousands of clients who invested in a firm called Juicy Fields. And the story behind all this is just wild. A flashy, revolutionary startup sponsoring international cannabis expos. A promo video starring a German rapper packed with hidden clues. A CEO with an Ivy League degree who barely speaks English. A business address leading to a castle and a group of fake aristocrats. Alleged criminals trying and failing to smoke joints through the slits in their Guy Fawkes masks. Hundreds of millions in losses. Investigations all across Europe. And a mysterious mastermind secretly pulling the strings. Money, money, greed. Money, money, greed. Now we getting rich, now me. Money, money, greed. Straight out of me. Rolling is the motherfucking team. Money, money, greed. The story of Juicy Fields was originally covered in depth by a brilliant 8-part investigative German podcast called Cannabis Cowboys. We spoke with one of the creators for this video, and also partly based our research on a great YouTube documentary by Conspiro. You'll find both links in the description. Cannabis is booming, and not just on the black market. As of March 2025, 54 countries have legalized weed for medical or recreational use, and that number keeps growing constantly. Estimates suggest that legal cannabis sales in Europe will soon have increased more than tenfold in the last 5 years, 2020 to 2025. Despite being a young industry, the market is already dominated by a few major players, publicly traded companies worth billions of dollars. But one startup is set on shaking things up. In 2019, Juicy Grow officially launches in Berlin, pitching an innovative business model, crowd growing. Small investors chip in small investments. Juicy Fields channels the funds, grows the plants, and distributes the profits. Getting started is easy. You sign up, pick a plant, and watch it grow in your virtual greenhouse. The cheapest one is 50 euros. A few months later, the harvest is sold for 68 to 83 euros, yielding up to 66% return. Other plants can cost up to 2,000 euros, but will of course generate higher profits down the line. Juicy Fields markets itself pretty aggressively. They pay YouTubers to push the platform with affiliate links. They sponsor major re-expos like Spannabis and Barcelona. They have success with flashy stunts, Lamborghinis, pompous parties, lightly clad dancers, and an obscene amount of bling. This promo video takes things to another level. Passengers are handed airplane-shaped joints and welcomed on board by Captain Blunt and his co-pilot Mary Jane. Next stop, a massive hotbox party up in the clouds. Another video shows a relatively successful German rapper endorsing Juicy Fields. And then there's this guy here, sniffing cannabis buds like a sommelier. Just moments earlier in the video, he was playing Captain Blunt. He's the CEO of Juicy Fields, Alan Glantz, the face of the company. His mission is to take down the cannabis oligopoly, legal weed for everyone, the Robin Hood of ganja game. On the company's website and his LinkedIn profile, he presents himself as a visionary entrepreneur, but despite his supposed Ivy League degree, in interviews his English is, well, pretty thin.
The guys is incredible, he's working the perfect, I'm not know it's about the, how many, 5 stuff.
But the message still hits home. A tight-knit community forms. And to be fair, apart from the CEO's sketchy resume, Juicy Fields seems pretty legit at first glance. The website lists several renowned cannabis producers as partners. They offer tours of real greenhouses and webcam live feeds of the crops. They actually keep their promises, frequently distributing major payouts.
Turn your pastime into your full-time. Your personal style into your signature brand. Do it yourself. Create your website on Wix.
Prepare to think bigger. Gain real-world experience. Start your journey.
In 2021, Juicy Fields harvested a staggering 72 tons of cannabis. They claim their production costs are just a tenth of their competitors. After only 2 years, the platform already has 500,000 investors, mostly from Germany, but also from Austria, Spain, and Portugal. Juicy Fields is a massive success, until
it all comes crashing down. Now imagine you're running a real business, legit and serious, a good product, a team that shows up every day, loyal customers who count on you. There are dozens of separate workflows, managed through dozens of separate tools, project management, sales, admin, and HR, emails, invoices, chats, and deadlines. It can be pretty overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that helps you manage all operations of your business on one intuitive platform. They offer more than 45 fully integrated apps, from CRM and website creation to accounting and inventory. No more juggling 12 different tools. Everything works together seamlessly in one place. Odoo is trusted, easy to use, and scales as you grow. Your first app is free for life, with unlimited hosting and support. You can get access to the entire platform for just Scan this QR code or visit bird.deal/Odoo35 to get started. Whether you're a team of 2 or 200, Odoo helps you stay on top. Now back to Juicy Fields. On June 3rd, 2022, Germany's Financial Regulatory Authority, BaFin, steps in. It bans Juicy Fields from selling plants in the country. Juicy Fields ignores the order and is fined €1 million. On July 11th, some Juicy Fields employees announced a strike. Shortly after, the company's official Telegram groups and social media profiles vanish. Then, on July 13th, investors are suddenly unable to log into their accounts. At that moment, Juicy Fields is sitting on investments worth at least €400 million. No one knows what will happen with all that money. The CEO has been fired just before the fallout. He drops a series of shirtless video messages, swearing he's innocent.
I'm innocent. I'll never take your money, okay, in my sight.
Glantz insists he wasn't really involved in the business. He says the real masterminds were shadowy figures he only met a couple of times in person. Many employees claim to be just as clueless. Some speak of mysterious backers they never saw face to face. Meanwhile, thousands of investors keep trying to log into their Juicy Fields accounts. To no avail. At this point, you might think you know what this is. A classic scam. The promised returns were just too good to be true. Tough luck. Too many red flags in the first place. But assume no further. This is just the beginning. On July 16th, the Juicy Fields website suddenly publishes the full names and contact details of several individuals, people who had never been publicly linked to the company before. The statement accuses them of plotting a hostile takeover. It claims the customer logins had to be frozen to prevent that. This is Nicholas Martin, a journalist at the German public international broadcaster, Deutsche Welle. He has followed the case from the start and spent over a year investigating it. He explains that Juicy Fields split into two fractions. The old Juicy Fields, made up of the platform's original founders, and the new Juicy Fields, a group of individuals based in Germany. These new people are all connected to Juicy Fields AG, a PLC registered in Switzerland, so they seem to have some actual ties to the platform. Their official address is a castle, and many of them boast long and complicated noble titles, counts, dukes, and princes. But according to Martin's research, these people are only fake aristocrats. Their titles are not real. The old Juicy Fields operators zero in on a wannabe nobleman in particular. They claim he stole all the funds and disappeared, hinting that he's hiding out in the Bahamas to evade taxes. They tell him to stop acting nasty, and that they're getting irritated by his actions, especially their guys in black hoods. Leaked documents suggest that Juicy Fields' main bank account was opened by one of those fake aristocrats. If this were true, the new guys from Switzerland would have had direct access to all the money and could run off with it. At this point, it really does look like Juicy Fields was undermined by a criminal gang of fake German noblemen. But the presumed aristocrats fight back. They claim they never had access to the main bank account, saying it was set up with a fake passport and a fake signature. To prove their point, they leak internal documents allegedly exposing the real masterminds behind Juicy Fields, the people running the website and the company itself. According to these documents, 4 Russian-born men are listed as the official owners of the German Juicy Grow GmbH. The leak even includes passport copies from 3 of them. The company's actual CEO appears to be a man named Viktor Bittner, a Russian-born German who has stayed completely out of the spotlight until now. But the main shareholder and the true mastermind behind all of it is supposed to be a Russian named Paul Bergholz. It also turns out that Juicy Fields wasn't just operating through 1 or 2 companies. The companies in Germany, GmbH Ltd, and Switzerland, AG plc, appear to be linked to at least 6 other European firms. The company's legal imprint starts to get edited on an almost daily basis, and nobody knows by whom. Then, a newly appointed CEO from South Africa speaks up. Again, There's no way to prove this guy is who he claims he is. In November 2022, Juicy Fields appears to have summoned a so-called anti-crisis committee. All attendees are hiding behind V for vendetta masks. They keep blaming the new Juicy Fields, and even dangle the hopes of recovering lost investments. But the whole thing feels surreal. One of the 6 masked figures tries to smoke a joint through the slit in his mask, and fails spectacularly. It's total and utter chaos. There's countless leaks and docs flying around. There are CEOs, founders, shareholders, presidents, and consultants. But who is really calling the shots? It will soon turn out that all the chaos and confusion is not accidental. It's most likely part of a meticulously orchestrated farce. Behind all these weird characters and blatant amateurs is someone who knows exactly what they're doing. October 2021, 9 months before the login freeze. Victor Bittner sits alone in Berlin. On paper, he is the CEO of the German branch of Juicy Grow, but he's not the one calling the shots. The real power lies with a small group operating out of St. Petersburg. Bittner is little more than a frontman, a puppet CEO, facilitating access to the German market. He is also the one who set up the German bank accounts that are now full to the brim with millions of investments. But the world is in lockdown, and traveling is nearly impossible. Bittner's bosses are stuck in distant Russia, and Bittner starts wondering, why not take the money and make a run for it? He seizes the moment and hunts 1.5 million euros for himself, but it doesn't go unnoticed. The puppeteers in Russia order their in-house fixer to fix the situation. Bittner is marked for liquidation, but the fixer refuses, opts out, and walks away. About a year later, he blows the whistle. Using the alias Anders, he reaches out to a Swedish lawyer who represents people affected by the Juicy Field scam, Lars Olofsson.
The whistleblower Anders said that I don't want to be a part of this. Yes, I could scam people, I'm a criminal, yes, but I don't want to be involved in killing people.
Nicholas Martin and the creators of the Spirit documentary have spoken to Anders as well. We can't independently verify his claims, but the Spirit was able to prove that he was in fact part of a criminal network in St. Petersburg. Anders says Juicy Fields wasn't just a massive scam, but a perfectly orchestrated puppet show, with a brilliant mastermind pulling the strings on a whole cast of disposable puppets. The most visible of them was Alan Glantz. Anders confirms that he never was some business genius with a degree from an elite university.
Thank you guys for understanding.
He appears to have been a taxi operator in St. Petersburg before his stint at Juicy Fields. His real name isn't Alan, it's Anatoly. They bought him designer suits and a Rolex to make him look the part. The entire Juicy Field success story was carefully staged. The 72-ton harvest, the 500,000 investors completely made up. Most of the big-name partners had no idea they were being featured on the website. The Lamborghinis were rentals. The tours took people to random cannabis plantations with zero connections to Juicy Fields. And the profits from those crops, the sales never actually happened. There was no revenue stream whatsoever to pay out those returns. The truth is that Juicy Fields was never even allowed to sell cannabis-derived financial products. The Berlin Trade Register officially listed the company as a gardening supply business. Everything points to a classic Ponzi scheme. New investors kept pumping in new cash, and the old investors got their payouts from that same pool of money. Of course, the whole system only works as long as it keeps growing. But the masterminds knew it wouldn't last forever. According to Anders, they had a clever exit strategy, a tangled web of shell companies, a bank account in Cyprus, and a few hand-selected fall guys to take the hit.
I'm calling them the useful people. These are people who are just being paid to be seen and signed and paid. They are not the master.
Anders said the entire power structure was orchestrated too. A big fat red herring that sowed confusion and distract people from what was really happening. The accusations against the fake aristocrats, the leaked Russian passports, probably all staged. The passports are fake, the names made up, the photos edited. The only real thing is this. There really was a tight inner circle behind Juicy Fields, and they were really led by one mastermind. His name just wasn't Paul Berkholz. Anders describes him as a low-key, tech-savvy guy, an IT expert, darknet enthusiast, and die-hard cannabis fan. Oh, and apparently he's really into rap. Juicy Fields produced multiple promotional music videos, and Martin's research suggests that the rap lyrics in them were actually written by Paul himself. In one of the music videos, you can see these Russian Matryoshka dolls in the background. Anders says Paul explicitly requested them, But why? As a hidden Easter egg? A subtle flex? Why would he deliberately draw attention to his home country? Was he so sure that no one could touch him there? And this is not the end of it. Whistleblower Anders claims the entire thing. Juicy Fields, the Ponzi scheme, the puppet show, it was all just a front for an even bigger operation. Money laundering. At the heart of Juicy Fields' finances was a bank account in Cyprus, a country long accused of turning a blind eye to shady financial dealings. That account alone processed over €500 million since it was opened up. The cannabis investments might have been the perfect cover for an old-fashioned money laundering scheme. The dirty money flows into illegal business, blends it into its revenue stream, and comes out clean on the other end. In other words, the Ponzi scheme and the money laundering machine could have been a perfect match. Anders claims the masterminds had direct ties to a Colombian drug cartel. Was Juicy Fields a front to wash cartel money? Martin and his team spoke to the German prosecutor's office. According to them, Juicy Fields was linked to organized crime in Russia. And St. Petersburg does indeed seem to be the hub. The city is infamous for being a stronghold of the Russian mob. Experts believe an operation of this scale can only go down if it's somehow sanctioned by the Kremlin. Victor Bittner is believed to be connected to Russia's FSB intelligence service. But this is where the trail went cold for a while. The picture got too blurry and too speculative. Fast forward a couple of years. Finally, a breakthrough. Investigative reporters managed to identify the mastermind at the top, a Russian named Sergei Vedizhin. An international research network, Collective, and other outlets found that he was the one operating under fake names like Paul Bergholz. His network allegedly scammed €645 million from investors and funneled the money through a complex web of shell companies. After nearly 2 years on the run, Vedizhin was finally arrested in the Dominican Republic and extradited to Spain in August 2024. There, he now faces charges of fraud, money laundering, and running a criminal organization. Vedizhin's father was a Russian nuclear scientist with political and military connections. That adds weight to the long-standing suspicions that Juicy Fields may have been a joint operation between the Russian mob and the FSB, designed to funnel Western money into shadowy activities, potentially even the war in Ukraine. Then there's the alleged whistleblower, Anders. Turns out his real name is Igor Gekshin, and he wasn't just some low-level insider. He was directly involved in the Juicy Fields operation. But in a bizarre twist, Gekshin later revoked all of his statements. Apparently someone tried to kill him, twice. In one incident, his car was blown up shortly after he returned to Russia. The suspects were driving a car registered to Vedizhin's father. Someone must have wanted him permanently silenced. Meanwhile, Lars Olofsson, the Swedish lawyer who represented Juicy Fields' victims, has come under scrutiny himself. Reports now suggest he may have been playing both sides, working with both the scam's victims and some of its key perpetrators. Vedizhin's network was ultimately dismantled. In April 2024, law enforcement across 11 countries coordinated a massive crackdown. 9 arrests, 38 raids, and over 400 officers deployed, all targeting other key players behind the scheme. And yet, despite all this, thousands of victims are still waiting for their money. The Juicy Fields scandal is a textbook case of how reality and deception can blur in massive financial frauds. What's real? What's fake? Even now, it's hard to say. But one thing is clear. If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
We are one of the top-rated heating and air conditioning companies in the area. And as we get towards the end of the summer, we have a special going on where we can get you a brand new air conditioning and heating system. So you're covered in the summer, and you're going to be covered in the winter for $0 down. And you can spread out the cost of that new system with 0% interest financing. That is 0% interest financing. So you're paying nothing in interest to spread out the cost of that new system over time. If you're interested, if you'd like more info, you can scan the QR code here to my right or to my left. It's going to take you to a page with a few quick questions. Answer those, and it will text you over more information. Again, if you live anywhere here in the area, maybe you've got an old air conditioning or heating system, and you need a new system right now, or maybe you've just been thinking of getting a new one for a while, we can get you a brand new air conditioning and heating system for $0 down with 0% interest financing. If you're interested, scan the QR code here to my right or to my left, answer those questions, and we will text that information over to you.
Looking for tool storage that's both affordable and built to last? Choose the trusted durability of U.S. General from Harbor Freight. Whether you're looking for complete storage solutions, roll cabinets, carts, or accessories for your garage, US General has it all. With a full selection of colors, customization options, parts, trays, and more. You can build your setup just the way you want. Pick yours up today. See why US General is trusted across America. US General, only at Harbor Freight.
It's October 2015, a chilly day in autumn. John Brennan receives a weird phone call. It seems to be coming from a stranger. He hesitates a second, then picks up.
Hello?
John Brennan,
Who is this?
you're a f***ing loser.
If John Brennan hadn't been John Brennan, this might have looked like an ordinary prank call. But John Brennan happens to be one of the most powerful men on Earth, the head of the CIA.
Who is this? How did you get this number? It was so f***ing easy, bro. You're such a What do you want? I don't want anything. I already own you. How much do you want? We want $5 trillion.
The U.S. government will classify this call as part of a larger conspiracy of identity theft, harassment of government officials, and cyber terrorism. The caller will pay a heavy price for this moment of trollish glory.
Why are you doing this? We want you to stop bombing the Middle East.
Across the Atlantic, in a house in the West Midlands of England, a 15-year-old kid in his room, the phone still in his hand. He can't believe what he just did. He calls himself Kraken, and he loves to smoke weed. In fact, he's high right now. He's also the leader of Crackers with Attitude. He and his companions terrorized and embarrassed the U.S. security apparatus to a near incomparable degree. They leaked the personal data of police officers, FBI agents, and DOJ officials. They hand-delivered top-secret documents to Julian Assange. Some of the most publicized hacktivism attributed to Anonymous.
They got themselves anonymous.
Yeah, it was actually them. In part for the lulz. And this is their story.
This was political.
Teenager
Typewriter.
hijacked the signatures of several U.S. intelligence
To
and
the elected because with attitude.
2008 in Virginia, a different kid who only calls himself Default. He's a pretty typical American teenager who loves soccer, video games, and his dog. He often clashes with his father, who works in the government. At some point, Default starts cheating in his video games. This gives him the first taste of using computers to do things that you're not supposed to. Exciting, powerful things. He starts learning all that he can about how computers work and how to get them to bend to your will. 2008 was an exciting time to get into hacking. The decentralized hacktivist group, Anonymous, was in its heyday. If you managed to get into their secret chats, you got a front-seat view of their actions.
Anonymous is one of the biggest online vigilante groups. Members hack into companies and governments.
Now, a worldwide and widely recognized hacking group.
Hackers with the group Anonymous.
Citizens of the world, we have seen the erosion of due
A
process.
cyber war. Anonymous has struck again.
Young Default is fascinated. Anonymous embodies an exciting spirit of freedom through chaos. They showed how you could force the whole world to pay attention without you having to leave your bedroom. Some Anonymous actions are political, some are just trolling. And Default, after tasting this very new kind of power, is keen to learn everything he can about hacking. He starts to hack random websites just for the challenge of it, just to see if he can. But after hanging around Anonymous's chats for a while, he starts to find the group, well, cringe. For one thing, it's crawling with feds. People are getting arrested, and it's tough to know who to trust. Anonymous has become so big that vetting people becomes difficult. There's tons of infighting and doxing. Since it's the only hacktivist group most media outlets know about, Anonymous keeps getting credited for the work of other, often more sophisticated hackers. It's a mess. So Default gets involved with offshoot hacker groups, one of them called AnonSec. The group positions itself as anti-Anonymous. But similar to Anonymous, AnonSec performs operations, hacking initiatives that sometimes have a political purpose, and sometimes are just, as one might say in 2008, for the lulz. I hate recording that. AnonSec is quite advanced, and Default gets better and better at the game. The group controls a botnet. A botnet is essentially a large pack of infected computers under someone's control. You can use those computers to further spread malware across the internet to make the botnet larger and larger. Or you could, for example, attack a server with it in order to overload it. Default is tapping around AnonSec's botnet and gets curious about what computers they've actually gotten under their control. He finds that one is a server of the Canadian Medical School, Windsor University. Suddenly, Default finds himself with direct access to the university's finances. He pulls up records of students who owe the school money. It all adds up to $9.4 million. And at the bottom of the list, something very tempting. A delete all button. How could he not push it?
These people might, really enjoy having their slate wiped clean, as it were. If you look, some of them owe a substantial amount of money, like $70,000. I think some people owed upwards of over $100,000. It's a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? It's like perpetual debt that sometimes it just lasts for decades. So, just delete everything. I went into the PHP shell and just send everything to dev null, just shredded it. So whatever I sent there is just not coming back.
This is from the podcast Darknet Diaries. They have a fantastic episode with Default. Of course, this story poses some questions. We tried asking the university if the debt stayed deleted. They did not answer, but usually student loans have multiple on and offline and offsite backups. There should be hard copies of the student's signed loan agreements. However, Default feels like he's really doing something at the time. There is a certain rush to committing a crime, when it feels like doing the right thing. Other hackers might have used the sensitive student information to make a profit. There's actually a shadow industry worth billions surrounding our most sensitive data. So-called data brokers gather all the info available about us on the internet, your contact information, browsing history, and online transactions. This data is often bundled into shadow profiles, which are then being sold. You might receive a tailored mail or a robocall based on your shadow profile. In the worst case, someone might try to steal your identity. Incognito helps you remove your data from the numerous lists of data brokers. The only thing you have to do is create an account and allow Incognito to act on your behalf. Afterwards, you can easily track the status of all the requests in the dashboard. Check out incognito.com/FurrenTV for an exclusive 60% discount on a 1-year plan using the code FurrenTV. Additionally, benefit from a 30-day money-back guarantee. Despite Incognito's efforts, some of your data might still linger online. Always remain cautious when sharing personal information anywhere. By trying out Incognito, you're actively supporting our channel. More and more of Default's hacks are motivated by altruism rather than just curiosity. As recently as 2014, bestiality was legal in Denmark. Other European countries, Germany, the UK, Sweden, had recently banned it. What this meant for Denmark was an increase in animal sex tourism. For years, Danish animal rights activists tried to bring attention to this.
They called them dog brothels. So sick. It's so crazy. And I had a dog, so that really pissed me off just thinking about the fact, what if someone took my dog and that happened to my dog? I would freak out.
So, as Default describes it, he and other AnonSec hackers lend their technical skills to the animal rights movement.
So I think we took down the official Denmark government website, and then we actually defaced it, and said, did you know that your government allows bestiality? And there's bestiality dens where people can go and pay money to do these things to animals. And most of them are people's pets.
They shut down bestiality websites via DDoS attacks and tweet evidence of sexually mistreated animals. The information reverberates around the world and is widely condemned. Anonymous gets credit for AnonSec's actions, which deeply annoys Default. But it works. In part due to the hacks, more people know about Danish dog brothels. They talk about them online, protest them, until the case winds up in Parliament. In April 2015, Denmark finally bans bestiality. While Default is leveling up as a hacker, he also becomes an early adopter of crypto. He accumulates a significant amount of Bitcoin, more than 1,000. This would amount to a lot of money today, somewhere around $40 million US. He keeps these Bitcoins on a hard drive in his room. He also knows he's making powerful enemies, so he gets a bit paranoid, a bit fanatical with his OPSEC. He never logs into his own Wi-Fi, for one. He uses a satellite dish to log into a free Dairy Queen Wi-Fi half a mile away. He's always connecting through a Tor node. Every time he turns off his devices, he makes sure they're encrypted. When he turns them back on, he has to wait 30 minutes for them to decrypt. For the most part, he never tells anybody what he is doing. He knows he has a lot to lose. Ultimately, it won't be enough. Back in May 2013, a 29-year-old U.S. intelligence contractor also has a lot to lose. He has his own home in Honolulu, a loving girlfriend, and a salary of over $200,000 per year. But he's discovered a huge secret, and it's too big to keep. The U.S. government has the ability to spy on pretty much any man, woman, child on Earth who has come into contact with a computer. And this contractor, unwittingly, has helped to make that technology possible. He's haunted by this information and horrified that his government is violating his public civil rights so egregiously. He knows that revealing this information to anyone, a lawyer, judge, or even Congress, would be committing felonies so severe that he would spend a lifetime in prison. He's worried he'll never see his family again, and he doesn't know what consequences they'll encounter if he blows the whistle. But he has to do it. He's been quietly collecting evidence of this secret for a while, and he's just downloaded the last documents. He tells his employer, the U.S. government, that he needs a couple of weeks off to manage his epilepsy. This buys him a bit of time to leave the country without arousing suspicion. He chooses Hong Kong because he views it as a bastion of free speech. He believes it's one of the few places in the world that could and would protect him from the wrath of the U.S. government. There he meets journalists Laura Poitras and Glenn Greenwald and delivers evidence of what used to be waved off as a conspiracy theory. And so Edward Snowden becomes one of the most important whistleblowers of our modern time. Snowden's revelations scandalized the world and sparked a long overdue debate about individual privacy versus national security. He inspires many young Americans like Default to take a good hard look at how their government functions. Default doesn't want to sit around and let surveillance happen to him. He wants high-ranking intelligence officials to know what it feels like to be spied upon, to have their private information stored and distributed, and to have it used against them. This is when he teams up with the Crackers with Attitude, founded by Cracker, the kid who's always high. Leicestershire, England, 2015. In a housing estate on the outskirts of a sleepy former mining town, there's not a lot to do except get high or go online. In the case of 15-year-old Cracker, he spends his time doing both. He's angry about corruption, about surveillance, but in particular about the U.S.'s involvement in the Middle East. He becomes especially focused on Palestine and sees the U.S. as directly responsible for death and suffering in Gaza. He decides to do something about it.
This was political. He was really angry about US foreign policy. So he started a collective called Crackers with Attitude, and then he hacked into sensitive documents online.
One of his first victims is James Clapper, then the National Director of Intelligence of the Obama administration. Clapper, one of the highest-ranking members of the intelligence community, had his phone number and address waiting to be found with just one Google search. This provides Cracker with enough information to hack into his email. He posts proof of it on Twitter, which catches Default's attention. Cracker then gets the phone calls to Clapper's house phone rerouted to the Free Palestine movement. Default tweets his respect to Cracker, and the two start chatting. Edward Snowden himself has given James Clapper a very special shout-out in an interview with the German broadcaster ARD. Unfortunately, that interview was blocked from US and German television networks. Apparently, the video is immediately taken down every time it's posted on YouTube, so we'll only show the quotes visually.
I would say sort of the breaking point is seeing the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, directly lie under oath to Congress.
What we do not do is spy unlawfully on Americans, or for that matter, spy indiscriminately on the citizens of any country. We only spy for valid foreign intelligence purposes as authorized by law, with multiple layers of oversight to ensure we don't abuse our authorities.
Cracker and Default are livid. Cracker and other hackers loosely connected with CWA team up to target more high-ranking members of the intelligence community. They want to embarrass them and to show them that they aren't as powerful as they think they are. At the top of their list is John Brennan, head of the CIA. Brennan, like Clapper, has enough information online that he basically doxes himself. Cracker looks up his publicly posted phone number and finds out it's a Verizon number. He calls up Verizon's internal tech support and pretends to be an on-site technician who's having trouble helping a customer on site. Tech support asks Cracker for his employee code, and he just makes one up on the spot. It works. The support technician provides Cracker with access, and suddenly he has the account number, the PIN, and John Brennan's private email address. If you have just enough information on someone, pieced together from different sources, say their address and last 4 digits of their social security number, you can easily change the passwords on all kinds of accounts and take it over. And that's exactly what Cracker does with Brennan's AOL account. Once he's in the email account, Cracker gets Brennan's private cell number and shares it with Default. And so they start spam calling the director of the CIA, relentlessly calling him and his family.
I told him he was a piece of shit. Basically, like, y'all are awful people. Like, really. Like, you're not doing any net positive things for the world. You're just not.
John Brennan is freaked out. Sure, the calls are a little more than a prank, but how could he know that? At the time, nobody knew who was behind the calls, or what their intentions were. Brennan has to lay low for a while in hiding, with extra security details for himself and his family. At the same time, Cracker's breach into Brennan's email gives him access to sensitive documents. Cracker first posts screenshots on Twitter, but then, egged on by Default, and maybe asking himself, what would Snowden do? He decides to hit up WikiLeaks. Julian Assange himself takes interest. He publishes the documents in October 2015. They include Brennan's 47-page SF-86 application, a sensitive form required for obtaining top-secret government security clearance. The form reveals his criminal history, psychological records, past drug abuse, and other details nobody would want about themselves online. Not only that, from Brennan's emails, WikiLeaks publishes Bush-era recommendations for how the presidency should operate in the Middle East. There's also an internal congressional correspondence from the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence that offered suggestions on how to make future interrogation methods, also known as torture, compliant and legal. The breach cost the agency $1.5 million in damages and relocation costs, as several operatives went into hiding before they knew that there was basically no threat level. Above all, it was widely embarrassing. Hacking into Brennan's email was laughably easy.
This is true, and it's true that you guys have actually broken into his private email account. How difficult would you say it is?
Give me out of 10.
Sure, out of 10.
1.
What?
A lot of people find it randomly purchases of your people, how to come to life and be out of it.
Can you give us any indication of your background? I mean, how old you are? Are you in the United States? I mean, anything you can tell me about yourself?
Yeah, I spoke to the agent, 20 years old. America.
And you smoke pot?
We wonder what John Brennan must have thought, while undoubtedly watching this in his relocation house. What fury must have built up inside him. The CWA aren't done. They release more and more information. With control over Clapper's and other operatives' accounts, it's even easier to get people to give up information to in turn access further accounts and databases. They gain access to FBI's Deputy Director Mark Giuliano's account. There, they discover a database with personal information of 9,000 Department of Justice officials and 20,000 FBI agents. They post it. They then get access to the Justice Department's Joint Automated Booking System, which has records on all U.S. prisoners. They check out the records of fellow hackers like Jeremy Hammond and post those online as well. They wreak havoc and embarrass one institution after another. Did these kids really think that they were going to get away with it?
At the time, I really didn't care. I just, like, that was towards the end of the run. It was just like, all bets are off. You know? It's gone all the way down the rabbit hole. I just become very disillusioned with people's complacency and their lack of care for what was going on. So it's like, we're gonna bring attention to this with, like, chaos and mayhem.
Kraken knows his actions have poked a very big bear. He knows there will be consequences. He just doesn't know what they'll exactly be.
I'm going to go to Russia and deal with Snowden, because I know that he's something I could be mad about because I'm probably going to told you. I'm going to be pretty technical about it.
Default is paranoid the whole time, constantly worried about his OPSEC. let his guard down. Default became involved with an ex-girlfriend of one of his friends. According to him, he asked his friend in advance if it's okay with him. The friend says, sure, go for it. He's way over it. But he isn't. Default and his friend are hanging out one night, drinking and chatting over Xbox Live.
I slip up for the first time ever. Being arrogant and cocky. It comes on the news, CIA director hacked, blah blah blah, all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that was us, blah blah. I was like drunk, talking, and just totally like gave myself away.
He never thought his friend would do anything with that information. Hell, he didn't even think his friend would necessarily believe him. But today, Default is pretty sure this friend turned him in. When the FBI raids you, they don't knock politely. FBI agents enter Default's room just as his computer finishes decrypting. They're pointing assault rifles in his face. They drag him out of his room, flash copy his hard drive before it re-encrypts, and seize all of his equipment. Default knows he's finished, but the worst part, watching the agents carry off his hard drive. A hard drive with nearly 1,000 Bitcoin. He blacks out. Krakow, too, gets raided by the British police forces. His computers are confiscated. One other CWA member gets arrested in the US, and 3 more in the UK. Since Krakow was underage and in the United Kingdom, he got a lenient sentence. He spent 2 years in a juvenile detention center. He was the first minor in the UK to be imprisoned for hacking. Today, he's keeping his head down and is done with crime. He just wants to make a career in cybersecurity and move on with his life. He did not want to give us an interview. Default, even though he was less involved, paid a much higher price. He went straight to federal prison with a 5-year sentence. He had to pay $145,000 in restitution, and due to COVID regulations, spent a significant amount of that time in solitary confinement. While pleading in court, he said, I thought what I was doing was right in terms of political justice, but 2 years later, I realized I was completely wrong. Snowden, too, didn't have a relaxed time fighting asylum in Russia. Shortly after his leak, intelligence officials publicly fantasized about killing him. Whether you're a principled whistleblower who truly understands the significance of what you're leaking, or a stone teen furious at the world's injustices, messing with the US government will change the course of your life forever. So make sure it's worth it. In December 2023, the Biden administration renewed a very controversial surveillance program. The act allows the administration to spy on anyone in the world without warning, including its own citizens. It includes a vast database of electronic communications. It's supposed to be accessed only when there's a legitimate reason to believe it will assist intelligence operations. But a US court ruling in 2023 found that the FBI has already misused this database 278,000 times. Unlawful searches were particularly rampant between 2016 and 2020. They've snooped in the private communications of donors to various congressional candidates. They've been watching suspected January 6 rioters, and they've also been surveilling Black Lives Matter protesters. Maybe they're even surveilling us.
Thank you.
It's not always raining. There'll be days like this. There'll be days like this.
With Prime Big Deal Days coming October 7th and 8th, greatness is a deal away. Shop deals up to 40% off this Prime Big Deal Day.
This is David Pecora. He's 22 years old, has shoulder-length blonde hair, and studies computer science. His online names are Xenon and Xenomega. He's part of the Xbox community, tweaking consoles and creating cheats for games like Halo and Call of Duty. Right now, he has an annoying problem. The bumper of his car is broken, and the dealer refuses to ship the parts to Canada. So he asks his friend Justin, who lives in the US, if he can order the new bumper to his house. They met each other years ago on the internet. Justin lives in Wilmington. about an 8-hour drive away. David's plan is to drive there, get the bumper, maybe grab something to eat together, and head back home. His dad offers to tag along so they can take turns driving. They take the family car. About an hour later, David and his dad get to the border. The U.S. border officer checks their passports. He's about to wave them through when he sees a strange name on his display. "What's Xenon?" the officer asks. David flinches. That's his online name. But why on earth does it pop up here at the passport control? Two figures in dark uniforms approach the vehicle. They pull their weapons and tell him to step out of the car. David gets arrested. He walked right into a trap. The thing is, David may have done more than tweaking consoles and coding cheats. The FBI has been after him for years. He's part of a hacker gang they'll become to know as the Xbox Underground. They are responsible for an unprecedented series of cyber attacks on some of the biggest tech firms on the planet. They stole thousands of login credentials, iced the source code of unpublished games, and hacked into confidential U.S. military simulations. They didn't do it on behalf of some government agency. Sometimes they didn't even make money with it. They were just a bunch of teenagers. Always destined to become a hacker. He's still in elementary school when he builds his own little web browser. He simply teaches himself how to code. In 2001, David's world and that of countless other kids changes forever. The OG Xbox is released.
For the first time, let me now unveil Xbox.
Back then, the Xbox marks a technological milestone. A bunch of high-end hardware packed into a massive black casing. The black and green dashboard and the ridiculously oversized controller kind of give off nuclear reactor vibes. It's a completely new aesthetic at the time. David gets one and hopelessly falls in love with Halo. But he's not just a passionate gamer. He's fascinated by the Xbox's tech. He becomes part of the fast-growing online community of like-minded nerds. They crack their consoles and get their own software running. They stream music, install Linux, and even manage to boot up Nintendo games. David is extremely talented and quickly gains credit in the scene. He starts writing programs for Halo that let you tweak the physics or even the weather in the game. Then, in 2005, the Xbox 360 drops and changes everything. Again. Microsoft learned from its mistakes and bolstered the console's security. To hack the new Xbox, you need a development kit. That's a special console with extra features just for developers. These dev kits are incredibly hard to get. Developers need to be verified by Microsoft to have one. For everyone else, they're strictly off limits. It takes a while, but eventually a few dev kits start popping up online. Someone has found thousands of them at a recycling yard. Microsoft must have tried to trash them, but now someone is making money by selling them. In 2008, David acquires several of these dev kits for himself and resells a few. This is how he meets Justin May, his buddy from Wilmington. Online, Justin goes by MTW. The dev kit gives David access to PartnerNet, a closed platform where Xbox developers upload test versions of their games. He spends his nights scouring PartnerNet, posting screenshots of unreleased games and making a name for himself in online forums. He starts showing up late to school. His grades are slipping. But he thinks, what if this is my ticket to a career in game development? In 2010, David catches the attention of a guy named Dylan Wheeler. Dylan is 14 and lives in Perth, Australia. He has long brown hair and is in the middle of puberty. He loves a good thrill and got into hacking early on. In high school, Dylan got suspended for hacking into the school's network. But he doesn't like to be told what to do, so he hacked the network again and got suspended again. He is fascinated by what David and others are doing with the Xbox and wants in on the action, so he signs up to the Xbox hacking forum. His online moniker is SuperDay. That same year, 2010, another Xbox 360 dev kit ends up in the hands of Sanad Nishaiwa. Sanad is 24, lives in Washington, New Jersey, and is a true tech enthusiast. He started gaming by 8. By 12, he was taking apart entire consoles. His room is packed with electronics. His desk is covered by a soldering iron, an oscilloscope, and all sorts of electronic parts. He dives into the Xbox scene and calls himself Sonic. It's an incredibly exciting time for David, Justin, Dylan, Sanad, and many others. PartnerNet is an absolute goldmine. They get to play new games months before their release, completely free of charge. But at some point, they start getting into trouble with real developers on the platform. In 2009, David finds a way to use cheats for the brand new Call of Duty game. He sets up a server and charges users for using his cheats. $100 per 30 minutes. Players can walk through walls and fire without ever missing a shot. The cheat business is a huge success. David quickly makes up to $8,000 a day. He takes his girlfriend to fancy restaurants and stays in luxury hotels. Activision, the developer behind Call of Duty, catches wind of David's scheme. They send him cease and desist letters, threaten to sue. But David doesn't respond. They're just video games, he thinks. It's not like he's hacking into servers and stealing information. Well, not yet. The Xbox Underground story is so insane, it would definitely deserve its own website. You know who also deserves their own website? You. A portfolio site is a great way to present yourself and your skills. There are many tools to accomplish just that, but none quite like Odoo's website builder. Start by setting up the structure of your site, add pages and features, choose your color palette, and pick your theme. Then simply drag and drop blocks to add content, like your recent work. You can customize each block, add images, animations, etc. No need to worry about text either. Odoo has integrated ChatGPT to assist you with any copywriting. It really couldn't be easier, and everything looks polished and works like a charm. You also get a custom domain free for the first year, along with unlimited hosting and support. And Odoo is so much more, an all-in-one management platform that helps you manage all your business needs under one roof. So when your business grows, Odoo's got tons of apps to help, like CRM, sales, and marketing. Check out Odoo at fern.io/Odoo and start building your own website for free. One night, Dylan gets a message from an online friend named GamerFreak1727. It contains a list of usernames and matching email addresses and passwords, all taken from a form run by game developer Epic Games. At the time, Epic is mostly known for Unreal Tournament and Gears of War. Dylan checks the list, finds the login credentials of an IT employee at Epic Games. He wonders if that person uses the same password on other sites. He tries to log in to the employee's Gmail account. And it works. He combs through the inbox and finds another password, admin060606. It gives him access to an internal network at Epic Games. Dylan sends David a message to tell him about his find. David is hooked. One of the servers are hosting unreleased games. He knows that what they're doing is illegal, so he sets himself some limits. No looking at customer data or credit card information. He's only interested in the games. David and Dylan spend months rummaging through the Epic servers on the hunt for anything interesting. And sure enough, they eventually find something. An early build of Gears of War 3, complete with source code. They can't believe their luck. They're on the verge of playing one of the most anticipated games of the year, months before anyone else. They message Sanad to let him in on the discovery. He has a hacked modem at home that lets him cover up his IP address, so he can download the game without getting caught. Sanad logs into Epic's network and grabs the files. It's hundreds of gigabytes of data. He stays up all night until the download finally completes. He's too excited to go to sleep. He burns the data onto 8 Blu-rays and mails them to David. He writes the words wedding videos on the package. David receives the package and tries the game. The build is still pretty raw. A lot of the textures are missing. It's not really playable at this stage. David sends the game to the others, including Justin. Just a few days later, the game appears online as a public download. The leak makes headlines everywhere.
Last week, Gears of War 3 was leaked on the web. Gears developer Epic Games confirmed that this is not the final build of the game and warned people that downloading the title may actually melt your system. Not sure if that's true, but scare tactics aside, don't pirate. Pirating sucks.
The guys are still snooping around the Epic Games network when they stumble upon a very unsettling email. Epic Games has called the FBI because of the leak, but it seems the feds are not onto them yet. David is freaking out. He asks Justin to help encrypt his hard drives. Sanad decides to lay low and wait for things to calm down. Dylan, however, doesn't care about the FBI. He keeps logging into the servers, while the feds are actively scanning them to find the hackers. His ballsiness pays off. Dylan finds a USB drive connected to the network, and on that drive he finds a list of all the company's important access credentials. Dylan now has full access to Epic's network. From that point on, He logs into the network every single day. He roams around the PCs of Epic employees and taps their webcams. He sits at his computer in Australia and watches them in real time while they move around the office or sit in meetings. He mostly exploits human errors. He searches data breaches for login credentials and then tries them on other sites. Eventually, he manages to also hack into the network of other companies. Dylan is on a serious hacking spree. David and Sanad find out what he is doing and jump back in. They just can't resist. One by one, they hack the networks of tech giants like Microsoft, EA, Bungie, Blizzard, Valve, and Activision. They keep digging deeper and deeper, downloading more and more unreleased games. It's like a fever dream. The guys have been hacking their way through the gaming industry for almost a year now. From time to time, they're also making money off of it. David starts selling Jacked an unreleased game to a user called Xbox Dev Guy. The contact is established via Justin. But deep down, they're still just a bunch of gaming fans. They invite their friends over to show them their video games. They never reveal where they get them from. They're a small and tight group, but they can't always keep the excitement to themselves. So every now and then, word gets out to the wider scene. And every time that happens, new people want in on the action. 2 new faces join the group. Austin Alcala is a 16-year-old high school student from McCordsville, Indiana. He's tall, rather shy and reserved. Online he goes by AA Monkey. The second newbie is Nathan LaRue, an 18-year-old from Bowie, Maryland. His dad works as a diesel mechanic, and his mom is busy homeschooling him. Nathan has written a program to fake FIFA coins and dreams of becoming a proper game developer someday. Online he calls himself Anime Freak. The group expands their hacking activities, and their virtual break-ins move further and further away from gaming. AMD, Intel, Disney, Warner Brothers, and Google. They end up infiltrating the servers of almost 25 companies, all of them major corporations. A late summer evening in 2012, Austin and Nathan are poking around the servers of Zombie Studios, a developer known for war games like the Spec Ops series. They discover a tunnel that leads them straight to a US military server. The drives host a new game Zombie Studios is working on, AH-64D, Apache Simulator, a flight simulator commissioned by the US Department of Defense. They hesitate. This is bigger than anything they have found so far, and much more dangerous. Curiosity ends up getting the best of them, and they download the game. The group is at its peak. They've been active for over 2 years. They've gone places no one else could. David, Dylan, Sanad, Austin, and Nathan have become the core of the group. Others are loosely involved in individual hacks. Altogether, there are almost a dozen strong now. They are aware that everything that they have done could already land them in jail. But they just can't stop. They joke about what they would call their gang in prison. Xbox Underground sounds pretty badass, they think. They laugh at the idea, but not for much longer. Justin, aka MTW, was an early member of the group. He met David when he bought the Xbox 360 dev kit from him, a few years ahead of the Epic Games hack. Justin was directly involved in many of their operations. A few days before Gears of War 3 was leaked, Justin got the game from the others in the group. Some of them, like Sanad, suspected that he was the one who put it online. Justin is almost 3 years older than David, but compared to him, he's a lot less cautious. In 2010, Justin attends PAX East, a video game convention in Boston. He gets calls from Sanad and a few others in the group. They ask him if he can hack into one of the networks on site. Maybe he'll find something interesting. No big deal if not. Justin gives it a try, but doesn't find a breach to exploit. The network is too secure. He's not ready to give it up though. He walks around the convention center and finds the stand of a small developer called Atomic Games. They're showcasing a new shooter called Breach. Justin waits until one of the employees heads to the bathroom. Then he sneaks behind the stand and secretly tries to download the game onto his laptop. But the employee comes back sooner than expected. At just 14 megabytes, Justin has to cancel the download and make a run for it. 2 Atomic employees chase after him and quickly catch him. They take him to the police. During the arrest, Justin tries to bribe the officers. He offers them $100 if they let him go. During the interrogation, he openly admits he was trying to steal the game. He repeatedly tells the cops that he has names of people bigger and more important than himself. When the others hear about the arrest, they get suspicious. What if Justin has been talking to the cops? He loses their trust. He disappears for a while, but eventually gets back in touch, trying to regain their trust. Now he is scamming companies like Cisco, Microsoft, and Lenovo with a return fraud scheme. Someone like that couldn't possibly be working with the cops. Some in the group, like David and Dylan, are thinking. Others, like Sanad, remain skeptical. After some time, Justin manages to get back on board. Back to August 2012, David and Dylan are poking around Microsoft servers. They come across a folder that seems pretty well protected. Looks like only a few developers have access to it. Maybe the company is working on some super secret project, they think. They download the folder and find a bunch of technical documents. Some pics of circuit boards and casings, source code, all that kind of stuff. They wonder what all of this could be for, and they quickly piece it together. They found the plans for the upcoming Xbox console, codenamed Durango. It'll later be called the Xbox One. They pondered what to do with the plans. They could sell them to others, or they could try to build the console themselves. All parts seem to be available on the market. They order the parts online and have everything shipped to Nathan's house. He volunteers to assemble the gaming console, and it works. The group now has a working prototype for the new Xbox, but no games to test it with, so they decide to sell it. They find a buyer in the Seychelles who is willing to pay $5,000. The buyer transfers the money, and the group discusses who is going to ship the console to him. Justin steps up. He offers to take it to the post office. The group agrees. Justin drives from Delaware to Bowie, about a 2-hour ride, and picks up the console at Nathan's place. But the package never makes it to the Seychelles. They start to get nervous. What if the FBI has intercepted the package? After the sale falls through, Dylan decides to upload the pictures of their prototype online, just to see what happens. He doesn't consult with the others. That means the Xbox prototype is now seemingly publicly up for auction on eBay. By now, Dylan is already known for his impulsive actions. In early 2012, he got drunk, called Epic Games, and confessed to hacking their servers. He explained to the employees over the phone how he did it and asked for a poster as a reward. He actually got one. This time, things get even worse. The eBay auction goes viral. In no time, bids reach over $20,000. But the sale doesn't go through because Microsoft files a copyright claim. Dylan, who set up the auction under his online name, Superday, starts giving online interviews.
We have someone who's gotten pretty world-renowned over the past couple of weeks here. I'm just gonna go straight to the chase here. His name is Dylan. Most people probably know him by his moniker Superday. He's gotten himself into a little bit of trouble with Microsoft and I guess he's taking the hacking community by storm. Dylan, welcome to the show.
Hi. Sanad and David are pissed at Dylan. Really pissed. After leaving traces all over the internet, this kind of attention is the last thing they need. David cuts off all ties with Dylan. The only ones even more pissed are the people at Microsoft. The investigation picks up speed. Just weeks after the auction, the FBI raids Nathan's, aka Anime Freak's, house and arrests him. Sanad Nishayawat, aka Sonic, tries to distance himself from the group, but his house gets raided too. He sends a copy of the search warrant to others in the group, including Dylan. Dylan then posts the name of the agents who raided Sanad's house online. He publicly threatens to send hitmen after them, a statement he later regrets. In February 2013, Dylan Wheeler, also known as Superday, is finally arrested by Australian authorities. Austin has learned from Nathan how to fake FIFA coins and turn it into a business. Justin is involved in scams of his own. Both of them lay low for a while. David also keeps a low profile in Canada after he learns about the string of arrests. Well, at least until he gets a chance to snag an actual prototype of the new Xbox. David is at a concert when he gets a call from Austin. Austin tells him about an 18-year-old hacker named Armin, aka Armin the Cyber. Armin claims to have access to Microsoft Campus and offers them a deal. He will sneak in and steal a real Durango prototype in exchange for some Microsoft server credentials and a few $1,000s. David thinks Armin is nuts, but again, his curiosity gets the better of him, and he agrees. At 9 p.m., Armin drives his car to Microsoft Campus. He's wearing a sweater with the company logo and carrying a big backpack. He has cloned some employee's access card and has no trouble getting in. The premises are enormous, but Armin knows his way around by now. For almost a year, he has been frequently sneaking into the buildings and dreaming of what it would actually be like to work there. He is a huge fan of Microsoft. He has even applied for a job, but has not heard back yet. Armin enters one of the office buildings. He's nervous. He's been there many times, but never to steal anything. There's still a few people around. Whenever he hears footsteps approaching, he hides. He eventually finds what he's looking for in one of the open plan offices on the 3rd floor. His hands are shaking as he stuffs 3 Xbox prototypes into his backpack. He sneaks out of the building, leaves the premises, and drives back home. He sends 2 of the consoles to David and Austin and keeps one for himself. Just a week after his break-in, Armin gets a call. It's Microsoft. They reviewed his application. He's got the job. It's a dream come true. But only a couple of weeks later, Armin loses the job. Surveillance cameras have caught him stealing the prototypes. He's taken into custody. In January 2014, Austin Alcala, aka AA Monkey, is arrested at his house by 4 FBI agents. In March, David Pecora, Xenomega, gets arrested at the U.S. border. David, Sanad, Austin, and Nathan stand trial together in the U.S. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, Dylan is also facing charges. The group is accused of identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy to steal millions of dollars worth of intellectual property. The indictment is extremely detailed. The FBI must have been building the case for a long time. There are chat logs and transcripts of personal conversations dating back to the first Epic Games hack in 2011. In court, prosecutors even play audio recordings that must have been secretly made during their hacking sessions.
But the funny thing is, I still have weird access to all their computers. I signed in yesterday.
He knowingly logged into Epic, knowing that that's not still there. Like, he's in the emails, like, they were emailing FBI people, and he knows that they talk to each other. Like, he still manages to not care.
I have to the U.S. military. I have to the Australian Department of Defense. I have every single place on me. Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Disney, Warner Brothers, everything.
The indictment repeatedly mentions Person A. Person A provided most of the evidence for the FBI. Person A allegedly helped David encrypt his hard drive and sell unreleased games to a user named Xbox Dev Guy. Person A is also said to have delivered a self-made prototype of the new Xbox to the FBI.
I get a copy of the indictment, and I start reading about Person A from in Delaware. We all only knew one person.
Justin. All signs point to him being an informant of the FBI. Did he cut a deal with the police after the incident at the convention? Is that how he got away with all his scams? No one knows for sure. The guys in the U.S. plead guilty. They all have very different ways of coping with the conviction. David is cooperative. He helps the investigators understand how they bypass the systems of billion-dollar corporations. The officers are pretty impressed by the 23-year-old's skills. He spends 18 months in prison. After getting out, he finishes college and starts working for cybersecurity firms. Austin gets 3 years probation. He doesn't serve a single day in jail because he agrees to help the FBI with another fraud case involving fake FIFA coins. He later becomes the head of cybersecurity at a social media startup. Sanad serves the same sentence as David, 18 months. He too gets out, but the following years are very hard on him. He starts working at a vape store and goes to college, but his probation officer bans him from using a computer and constantly harasses him.
Everything that I would ever ask her would always be a no. Like, for example, like, I would want to go down and see, my sister in Virginia or something. And it's no. It could be, she would come up with the craziest reasons to why she wouldn't let me do anything.
Sanad became more and more isolated and eventually slips into depression. Seeing no prospects for himself, he turns to drugs. His probation officer sees this as a violation of his probation terms. She drags him before a judge, who sentences Sanad to another 9 months behind bars. In 2019, Sanad's probation for his second sentence ends, and for the first time in years, he's allowed to use a computer. He's now clean and living with his sister. Nathan is terrified of having to go to jail. He's one of the youngest in the group and a gentle person. Of all of them, he was the least involved in the hacks. Nathan applies for bail until the verdict is final. He gets an ankle monitor and is allowed to stay with his parents. But the thought of what awaits him in prison eats him up. One day, he cuts off the ankle monitor and tries to flee. He pays a friend to drive him to the Canadian border, but the police catch him at the border checkpoint. Nathan panics. He jumps out of the car and runs across the bridge towards the border. but the cops catch him. He's desperate and considers jumping off the bridge. Then he pulls out a knife and injures himself until he collapses. He survives and is almost immediately taken back to jail, this time serving a 2-year sentence. Shortly before his release, Nathan comes out as trans and is now Holly. The time in prison must have been awful. Just a year after their release, Holly takes their own life. In Australia, Dylan is the only one who pleads not guilty. This leads to a series of court cases that drag on for over 3 years.
I guess I pled not guilty to the sense that they tried to hint to a mirror thing, but there wasn't everything that I did. At the start, they had lots of false charges on me.
Dylan is ordered to surrender his passport, but instead he heads to the airport and flies to the Czech Republic. He has Czech citizenship because his mother is from there. Shortly after, Dylan's mother is sentenced to 18 months in prison for aiding his escape. Dylan claims that his mother neither drove him to the airport nor sent him money.
Yeah, it's kind of a harsh reality sort of thing. You know, someone's got to go down for something.
Dylan moved to the UK, where he established a cybersecurity firm and gave talks on security-related topics.
I'm not hiding, because I'm not doing anything wrong. I did something when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, an underage teenager. It was wrong. I learned from that.
In March 2020, Dylan shuts down his company. There's been no trace of him since. In 2017, when almost all members of the Xbox Underground had served their sentences, the police finally arrest Justin May. The authorities seized a brand new BMW and nearly $40,000 in cash. In 2021, he was convicted of fraud, fencing, tax evasion, and money laundering. He was sentenced to almost 8 years in prison and fined $4 million.
Your dog, he's trying to tell you something. Fresh flavor, gourmet variety, he loves them too. Now serving Jinx, your dog's one-way ticket to culinary paradise. But why stop there? Bone broth, high-protein toppers, I'm listening. And low-calorie, nutrient-packed drizzle, all at an affordable price. Now that's a game changer. At Jinx, we've got the makings of the best bowl for your best friend.
This is the story of the hunt for the world's most dangerous hackers.
Prologue. The Bears. Once upon a time, there were 5 bears. They all lived in Russia. Each one was different in the things they liked and in the things they did. But they shared one important trait: their metaphors.
Nicknames for special units of Russian intelligence services. These units are made up of hackers, some of the most dangerous in the world. They each have different objectives: to spy, to expose, to wreak havoc. But they're not just a threat to computers or networks. They're a threat to Western democracies. They're tools of destabilization, of psychological warfare, of political manipulation. They've already made it into the German parliament, into the email inboxes of the country's elected officials. They threw their full weight behind Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. They travel the world, working in the interest of Vladimir Putin's regime. And they played a key role for years in Russia's brutal war against Ukraine. This documentary reveals who these hackers are, how they operate, and how we can protect ourselves from them. This documentary is largely based on a fantastic German-speaking podcast, Der Mann im Merkel's-Geschner, by German investigative journalists Hakan Taniguverdi and Florian Fada. Link is in the description.
Chapter 1. The Email.
This story begins with that little line above the E, and with Claudia Haidt. She was working in Berlin back then as an assistant to a member of the Bundestag, the German national parliament. Her office is beautiful, in the center of Berlin. It's May 8th, 2015, a warm Friday in spring. The weekend is just around the corner. She's trying to write an email to a colleague named Renee. The accent Aigu doesn't work. Strange. She tries all the usual, opening and closing Word, rebooting her PC. Nothing fixes the issue. The Bundestag has its own internal service hotline for that kind of thing, 117. She tells the IT guys that she thinks her PC got infected with some kind of malware, perhaps a Trojan. But they don't take her seriously. At this point, no one realizes how serious the situation really is. There really was a Trojan on Claudia's computer. She'd been hacked. But it wasn't just her device. While she's still on the phone with 117, hackers are already deep inside the Bundestag systems. They're working on behalf of the Russian Military Intelligence Agency, the GRU. Putin's bears are running wild, right through the very heart of Germany's political system. If all this happened today, Claudia could have just asked an AI assistant, probably way more helpful than that service hotline. With Uda's website app, AI can also help you build your website in seconds. No coding skills needed. Just 4 easy steps. Define the type of website, industry, and goals. AI generates images and text tailored to your needs. Choose a color palette or upload your logo. Add pages and features. Choose a theme you like. Then make it yours with simple drag and drop. With ChatGPT built in Udo, the perfect text is generated for you. Or just ask AI to rewrite your copy for you. Need a multilingual website, a Japanese translation, done in just a few clicks. It's fast, intuitive, and designed to make the experience smooth and effortless. Let Udo's built-in AI handle the busy work so you can focus on the big picture. Get started today for free. Your first app is free for life, including unlimited hosting and support. With the website app, you can even get a free custom domain for 1 year. You've never launched a website this easily. Add more apps anytime and get the full suite of apps starting at just 19.90 euros per month. Click the link in the description to get started. 8 days earlier, on April 30th, 2015, dozens of MPs and their staffs received an email. It looked official, as if it came from the United Nations. The subject line referenced Ukraine and its economic situation. It's just a year after the annexation of Crimea, Russia's first military incursion into Ukraine.
The military operation is now underway in eastern Ukraine.
The capital, Kyiv, and other Ukrainian cities have been hit by air and missile strikes over the past several hours.
The situation in Ukraine was already a red-hot political issue. You had to stay informed. And if the UN sent something around, Claudia Haidt and many others clicked. That single click was enough. Malware installed itself quietly in the background. No pop-ups, no warnings. The infection was silent, and from that moment on, the hackers had access. Their objective was clear: gain administrator rights. With those, they'd have the digital equivalent of master keys, access to everything, the power to change anything. And they got what they came for. They broke into areas of the system that should have been completely off limits. That's how they were able to push deeper and deeper, until they'd essentially taken over the Bundestag's IT infrastructure. It was a sophisticated operation, carefully planned and executed. The attackers moved laterally, jumping from computer to computer, scanning for valuable information, documents, emails, anything of use. Eventually they reached 2 machines inside a parliamentary office of the Conservatives. And not just any office, Angela Merkel's, the German Chancellor at the time. The Bundestag hack is one of the most serious cyber attacks in German history. It will set off a large-scale international investigation and eventually arrest warrants that had once seemed unimaginable. And yet, inside the Bundestag itself, the attack goes unnoticed for quite some time. Back to that Friday afternoon call with 117. Claudia is frustrated with how unhelpful the first hotline call had been, so she does what most people do in that situation. She calls again, hoping the next person might actually understand what's going on. But even the second person on the line doesn't take her seriously. Angry and fed up, Claudia decides to just shut down her PC and go home. It is Friday after all, and the weekend has already begun. On Monday morning, an IT staffer remotely logs into Claudia's machine and reinstalls Word, which, of course, doesn't fix anything. By the afternoon, someone finally comes in person, but even they don't catch that there's a Trojan on Claudia's PC. By this point, the hackers have already been inside the system for at least 2 weeks, and still, almost no one realizes that this might actually be a cyber attack. Meanwhile, over in the UK, a cybersecurity firm has been keeping an eye on a suspicious foreign server, one that had been used for previous cyber attacks. Suddenly, that server establishes a connection to machines inside the Bundestag network. The firm alerts the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution. A day later, the warning reaches both the Bundestag's Classified Information Office and the Federal Office for Information Security, BSI, in Bonn. Thanks to German bureaucracy doing what German bureaucracy does, the warning takes a brisk 3 days to actually land. Finally, someone realizes what's happening. The BSI sends a special team to Berlin. Their job? Comb through the logs. Those are automatic records on computers that track what happened, when, and how. Which programs were opened, what was clicked, what ran in the background. All of it. The BSI team needs to figure out 3 things. Is this a major attack? Yes. What are the hackers after? Probably stealing data. And are they still inside? Very much so. The team doesn't hesitate. They shut down the entire network. From the outside, it looks like someone just ripped the plug out of the wall. Claudia watches her computer power off like it has a mind of its own, like it's haunted. She half expects the lights to flicker next. That same day, Der Spiegel broke the story, the first media outlet to report on the cyber attack. Politicians found out from the news, not from internal channels. From that moment on, chaos took over. Lawmakers were furious. No one could work properly. No emails, no access to documents, no reports. And this isn't a movie. You don't just kick the hackers out and move on. The network is giant, messy, and hard to control. The response team had to fight their way through it, trying to stop any further data theft and wrest back control. It took weeks to clean the system. During that time, MPs and their staff could only use certain parts of the network. No one knew if the hackers were still reading their emails. Important notes were suddenly written down by hand again, just to stay safe. The Bundestag's IT security was clearly overwhelmed. It faced intense criticism in the months after. When the dust finally settles, the investigation into the perpetrators begins, and the trail points to Russia right from the start. On Claudia Heid's computer, investigators find malware called X-Tunnel. X-Tunnel functions like a real tunnel, a direct continuous link that allows attackers to access the network whenever they want. Inside the code, analysts uncover connections to a server believed to be used by a group known as APT28. APT stands for Advanced Persistent Threat. It's a label used for hacker groups that are not only highly skilled, but also extremely patient. The kind of intruders who don't just strike and vanish, but stay deeply embedded, sometimes for years. By all accounts, APT28 is a Russian group, and it also goes by another name, Fancy Bear. Fancy Bear operates under the GRU, Russia's military intelligence service. The group is notorious. This is where they work, in what's known as the Aquarium in Moscow. No one knows who they really are. No names, no faces, not even how many of them exist. But one thing is clear. They do whatever it takes. They'll stop at nothing, not even the computer of the sitting German chancellor. Ironically, it's there, in that highly sensitive office, where one of the hackers slips up. They managed to break into a computer in Angela Merkel's outer office, her personal machine, her inbox. It's exactly what they were after. To extract the emails, one of the hackers writes a custom program. The tool is designed to copy your Outlook inbox and send that copy to a server they control. The program is called VSC.exe. But there's a problem. While coding, the hackers make a mistake. To locate and extract the files, VSC.exe needs to follow a specific file path. And that path includes the words Abgeordnetenbüro. But the program doesn't recognize the German U. Instead, the character shows up as a garbled symbol, a question mark followed by RO, so the program can't find the folder. For a moment, the entire operation stumbles over the quirks of the German language. Realizing the attack might be exposed at any moment, the hackers panic a little. Under pressure, they decide to rewrite the code. This time, they tell the program, expect German, expect that ooh. Then they try again. And this time, it works. The tool successfully copies the inbox and sends it out. It's not Merkel's correspondence from the Chancellery, but still a huge win for the attackers. But the hackers messed up. Maybe from the rush, maybe out of nervousness. And the code of the program.
Well, that's going to be the end of this video, and bye.
The hacker forgot to delete the name of the computer he was working on. The path reads C users Scaramouche. Scaramouche is a clown-like character from Italian theater. People might also recognize the name from Bohemian Rhapsody. That's the hacker's alias, his handle. In secret, Scaramouche and his team become high-priority targets. The Federal Public Prosecutor's Office opens an investigation on suspicion of espionage. Angela Merkel later calls it an act of hybrid warfare. But publicly, the German government keeps quiet at first. No accusations, no pointing fingers. In total, around 16 gigabytes of data is believed to have been stolen from the Bundestag network, though no one knows for sure. 16 gigabytes doesn't sound like much, right? Just an old USB stick. But in context, it's a lot. Especially if we're talking only emails. 16 gigabytes contains a staggering amount of information. Is that really the end of the world, though? A little espionage here and there. Business as usual. Sure, they stole some files, but what could they really do with that? Then came the US presidential election in 2016. Putin's bears shows what they're really capable of.
The Clinton campaign won't confirm or deny the veracity of any of the emails posted by WikiLeaks.
What lines they're willing to cross, and just how much chaos a few gigabytes can unleash.
Chapter 2. The Orange.
In mid-2015, Donald Trump announces his candidacy. At first, no one really takes him seriously. But because he's so different, so unfiltered, saying things no one else would dare, the media can't stop talking about him.
And Mexico will pay for the wall. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
One outrageous statement after the next dominates the headlines.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS.
There's public outrage, disbelief, and widespread support for him.
You know what I said? I don't remember.
By early 2016, Trump is no longer the oddball outsider. He's now the Republican frontrunner, going head-to-head with Democrat Hillary Clinton. Half a world away, in the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin is watching closely. He doesn't like Hillary Clinton, not one bit. The two have history. Back in 2011, Clinton was the U.S. Secretary of State when Russia held national elections. She publicly questioned whether the vote had been rigged, and massive protests followed across the country. Putin accused the U.S. of stirring up those demonstrations. He never forgave her for that. Politically, she had been one of his toughest opponents for years. Later, the European Court of Human Rights confirmed that the 2011 Russian election was in fact manipulated. Putin clearly is rooting for the other guy, the loud billionaire. Trump, for his part, has repeatedly praised Putin in the past. He sees Putin as
I don't know why that isn't saving, but I'll do a time lapse.
So Putin consults with his 3 intelligence agencies and makes a call. March 19, 2016, an email lands in the inbox of John Podesta, Clinton's campaign manager. The message looks like a standard Google security alert, something about suspicious activity and a prompt to reset the password. But Podesta double checks with an IT staffer at the DNC to be sure. Unfortunately, the staffer replies that the email is legit, when he actually meant the opposite, just one typo with massive consequences. Podesta assumes the message is saved, clicks the link, and enters his login on a fake site. That's it. The hackers are in. They now have access to internal communications, emails, and nearly everything tied to the campaign. They're part of Fancy Bear, the same group tied to the Bundestag hack. They steal 50,000 of Podesta's emails. The tactic is known as phishing, casting bait and waiting for a bite. Spear phishing more specifically, as it's tailored to a specific person. With the same approach, Fancy Bear targets 300 more people inside Clinton's campaign. No one knows how many fell for it. In early April, they go after another key target, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, DCCC, a central player in the Democratic election machine. Using more convincingly real-looking emails, they managed to steal the credentials of at least one DCCC employee. And just like that, they're in again. Once inside, Fancy Bear uses two main types of malware, X-Agent and X-Tunnel. The latter is the same tool used in the attack on Claudia Heid's computer in Berlin. While digging through the DCCC, the hackers find something even more valuable. Credentials that let them slip into the Democratic National Committee, DNC, the heart of the party. There, they uncover detailed documents of campaign strategy, including a file of Trump full of potentially damaging information. In early May, the intrusion is finally detected. The DCCC and the DNC hire a cybersecurity firm to clean house, a process that will stretch all the way into October. But the Democrats should have discovered the hackers much sooner. In a small unlockable office in Moscow, another set of hackers is quietly at work. This group is known as Cozy Bear, most likely working under the SVR, Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service. They've been inside the Democrats' network since June 2015, far longer than Fancy Bear. As strange as it sounds, Cozy and Fancy Bear probably weren't even aware of each other. They had different bosses, didn't talk, didn't collaborate. Cozy Bear is known for being quiet and methodical, targeting all kinds of institutions without leaving much of a trace. But this time, someone's watching them. In 2014, Dutch intelligence pulled off an incredible hack. They gained access to surveillance cameras in the very building where Cozy Bear operates. They're literally watching the hackers at work. That's how they realize Cozy Bear is crawling through the DNC systems. So the AIVD warns the American counterparts early on. That warning eventually reaches the FBI. By September 2015, an agent in Washington calls the DNC to let them know Russian hackers are inside their systems. But the warning goes nowhere. The call lands with lower-level IT staff and is more or less ignored. Senior leadership at the DNC later claimed they didn't even know about it at the time. The hackers could have been discovered much earlier. If anyone had looked more closely at Cozy Bear, they likely would have seen Fancy Bear too. And if that had happened, the summer of 2016 might have unfolded quite differently.
They said earning a degree would keep me in demand, but some degrees are more valuable than others. Take cybersecurity. There were over 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs globally in 2021 alone. Stay in demand. Earn your cybersecurity degree from WG.
Yeah, eBay.
It's a place where memories are created, carried, and shared. But it didn't. Back to spring 2016, Fancy Bear launches a website, VCleaks.com. And starting in June, they begin dropping bombshell after bombshell. They invent a fake identity, Guccifer 2.0, the supposed Romanian lone wolf behind all the leaks. Guccifer gets a blog, reaches out to journalists, and offers up stolen files. The DNC hack dominates the headlines. It becomes breaking news on TV. Suddenly, internal dirt from within the Democratic Party. Rumors, backroom deals, tensions is out in the open. It's a major blow to Hillary Clinton's campaign. The emails appear to show the DNC clearly favoring Clinton over Bernie Sanders, even though they were supposed to stay neutral. There's content about what she earned for Wall Street speeches, and even an alleged anti-Catholic bias. Trump jumps on the scandal. At a rally, he famously says, Russia, if you're listening,
I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
At that point, Clinton is already under pressure over her use of a private email server while serving as Secretary of State. The FBI confirms she also deleted private emails from that account, which makes people believe that she's hiding something. Trump seizes the moment, tying that controversy to the flood in the leaks. That very same day, Fancy Bear sends 76 spear phishing emails to Clinton's staff. The impact of the leaks on Clinton's campaign is huge. Maybe not the deciding factor, but they definitely give Trump a boost, over and over again. What started as chaos turned into something more focused, a clear attempt to help Donald Trump. Just over a month before Election Day, the hackers hand over John Podesta's emails to WikiLeaks. And then, week after week, those emails are released strategically, some more dramatic than others, but all grabbing headlines. The constant drip of leaked material creates a lasting impression. Something shady is going on inside the Democratic Party. Clinton loses momentum. She's forced to shift her message and constantly defend herself, in the press and directly against Trump in public debates. The leaks are part of something bigger. Fancy Bear is supported by a digital army of trolls, for example, operating out of this building in St. Petersburg. They flood social media with manipulated content and polarizing posts. Some even succeed in organizing real-life protests across multiple U.S. cities. Hillary Clinton loses. Donald Trump becomes president. It's nearly impossible to measure how much influence the hacks and disinformation had, whether they tipped the scales. But many experts like Kathleen Hall Jamieson agree they had an impact. Russia, to some extent, successfully interfered with the 2016 U.S. election. It's widely seen as the most effective hacking leak operation ever pulled off. Steal data, release it strategically, and fan the flames of chaos. The idea that states spy on each other isn't new, but taking that intelligence and throwing it into the public to deliberately sway an election, that's something else entirely. If hackers can get their hands on internal data, release it at the perfect moment, and shape public opinion, what does that mean for the future of democracy? If a foreign power can mess with the core of another country's democratic process, that's not just hacking, that's destabilization. And it's part of a broader pattern made to erode public trust in democratic institutions. Democracies are at a disadvantage in this fight. A dictatorship can flood the internet with state media, bots, fake accounts, leak operations, and watches the public sphere and open society fragments and turns against itself. Meanwhile, inside the authoritarian regime, nothing wobbles. Dissent is crushed quickly and publicly. The United States only realizes what just happened after the elections have already passed. The CIA, FBI, and NSA compiled their findings in a highly classified report. In early 2017, a redacted version was released to the public. One sentence stands out as especially alarming. We assess that Moscow will apply lessons learned from its campaign aimed at the U.S. presidential election to future influence efforts worldwide. The sheer aggression and scale of these cyber operations, especially in the U.S., opens many people's eyes. They realize this isn't just spying, it's sabotage. In Germany, alarm bells start ringing too. There's a federal election coming up in 2017. What does all of this mean for them? Then, a new website pops up, btleaks.com. BT, like Bundestag, just like dcleaks.com. Suddenly, everyone is on edge. Variations like btleaks.org start appearing too. German authorities notice that someone is registering these sites, and panic starts to set in. Is the world about to see?
August 1st, 2021. Desiree Bixler wakes up at her parents' home in New York City.
It was very early Sunday morning, and my phone is kind of pinging and lighting up, and it's kind of weird.
This morning will turn her entire life upside down. She knew this day would come eventually. Over the past few months, she has been talking to journalists from the Wall Street Journal. Their conversations focused on her former employer, who she is accusing of serious wrongdoing. She has shared internal documents to back up her claims. Desiree is fully aware that her story is highly explosive. She knows about the massive repercussions it could create. But the question is, will people believe her?
I was a nervous wreck, an absolute nervous wreck.
Desiree picks up her phone. It is lighting up with notifications by the second.
I, just load up the Wall Street Journal app, and, there it is, there's my face. It's such a disorienting feeling just seeing yourself, and because it's a personal story. The title was something like, Fired Executive.
Says Deutsche Bank's DWS overstated sustainable investing efforts. Desiree Bixler is that fired executive. For 8 months, she was the Chief Sustainability Officer at DWS, a subsidiary of Germany's flagship investment bank Deutsche Bank.
This is a deal away.
Credit card debit numbers stolen.
On its surface, the International Space Station heats up to 120 degrees Celsius. The onboard temperature and humidity control system keeps the inside at the right temperature for human survival. If it fails, the astronaut stationed here would literally be cooked. And just now, a hacker has gotten hold of the system's software. He's not a hostile government agent, just a 15-year-old in his bedroom. He successfully gained access to 13 NASA computers. This teenager is a prodigy, one of the most talented young hackers the world has ever seen. And he didn't just break into NASA, he also hacked the Pentagon. From his point of view, he's just toying around. From the government's perspective, he's a national security threat.
Largest identity theft case ever.
Largest data breach in U.S. history.
That affected millions of people.
One that humiliated them over and over again. And one that they will go after ruthlessly. It's the year 1989, a suburban village in South Florida. This is Jonathan James. He is 6 years old. While other kids are outside playing tag, he's busy inside, glued to the family's computer. Mostly, he's just playing games. His parents are worried about his obsession. His dad is a programmer. At one point, he installs parental protection on the computer. Jonathan just breaks through it. In his early teens, he starts reading books in the programming language C and the operating system Unix, a precursor for Linux and Mac OS. He studies source code extensively and talks to other computer enthusiasts. He spends countless hours in front of the computer, often until late into the night. One afternoon, Jonathan uninstalls Windows from his family PC and installs Linux. No one asked him to. No one could stop him. His computer time regularly leads to arguments with his parents. It doesn't get any better once he gets his own PC. After a while, his parents decide to confiscate it. Jonathan runs away and says he's not coming home until he gets it back. Soon, it won't be his parents who are trying to keep him away from the computer, but the US government. At 15, Jonathan has long morphed from curious preteen to full-blown hacker, one of the youngest and best at the time. Online, he's known under his alias, Comrade. Jonathan really enjoys messing with systems, not to break them, but to beat them. It's a power thing, a control thing. He likes the thrill of it. The tougher the system, the more it pulls him in. He goes in, proves it's not so secure after all, and moves on. He doesn't care much about the stuff inside. He doesn't steal data, delete files, or spread viruses. In fact, sometimes he does the opposite. He'll break in, then send a polite little email to the system admin. Hey, your setup's got holes. Here's where. Here's how to fix it. In the summer of 1999, Jonathan is looking for a new challenge, so he decides to hack NASA. More specifically, the agency's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. He gains access to 13 NASA computers. It's unclear how, and this time Jonathan decides to actually take something. He downloads proprietary software valued at $1.7 million. It's the software for the temperature and humidity control of the ISS. In an interview, Jonathan will later say, "The code itself was crappy, certainly not worth $1.7 million like they claimed. The only reason I was downloading the source code in the first place was because I was studying C programming, and what better way to learn than reading software written by the government." Just downloading the software didn't give Jonathan remote control over the ISS systems. Having the source code is one thing, but actually sending commands to a spacecraft is a whole different story. It would have taken more steps to actually access the system. but this hack is still a massive security breach. When NASA finds out, they have to shut down their systems for 3 weeks, resulting in damages of around $40,000. 2 months later, Jonathan takes up his next challenge, hacking the Pentagon. More specifically, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. It analyzes and deals with potential threats to the U.S. from nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. Jonathan gains access to a server in Dulles, Virginia, and installs a backdoor. Again, it is unknown how he actually pulled this off. Once inside DTR systems, he intercepts more than 3,300 messages to and from DTRE staff. He retrieves 19 usernames and passwords of employees, at least 10 of which have access to military computers. Jonathan thinks his hacks are no big deal. To him, they are, quote, just harmless exploration. Law enforcement disagrees. It's an early morning in January 2000. Last month, Jonathan turned 16. By now, he has not one, but multiple computers of his own. He is well connected with other hackers, sharing tips and tricks. He also loves Star Trek. His mother comes into the room and wakes him up.
Jonathan, honey, the FBI's at the door.
They're here for him. They raid his family home and take 5 computers. They also take his Palm Pilot, some CDs, and his Star Trek book. Full choice for evidence. Jonathan is questioned by the officers. He admits everything and promises to never do it again. Then he hears nothing for 3 months. And then the authorities press charges, and his life begins to change dramatically. Jonathan James becomes the youngest person ever convicted of violating cybercrime laws in the U.S. If Jonathan had been an adult, he might have ended up with a decade behind bars. But he's still a minor. So the U.S. District Court in Miami puts him on 6 months house arrest. Jonathan is no longer allowed to use his computers in his free time. And even worse, he has to write letters of apology to NASA and the Department of Defense. Later, he tests positive for drugs, a clear probation violation, so he gets sent to a juvenile detention facility for 6 months. He's scared about spending time there with actual criminals. His father will later say that prison changed Jonathan. It made him strangely idle. Looking back, Jonathan regrets the whole thing. What started as fun challenges ended with him behind bars. The thrills weren't worth it, not even close. From that point on, he decides to leave hacking behind for good. But not everyone believes him. And a few years later, his past life will catch up with him. Some viewers think our animations are made with AI. Our 3D artists, who spend countless hours building these shots from scratch, aren't angry, just disappointed. AI can be helpful with other tasks though, like research. That's where Merlin AI comes in. Merlin AI is an all-in-one AI tool that bundles the best AI models all in one place, and you can even save tons of money. They gave us a 75% discount code we will share with you in just a second. You might already be using AI to rewrite emails, or to figure out what it really means when your ex texts you up at 1 a.m. But Merlin goes beyond that. In our work as journalists, it helps us with research, summarizing dense papers and pulling reference images in one click. Once installed, it's like a competent assistant in your browser. If you want to try Merlin AI, you can get a huge discount right now. While other AI tools charge around $20 per month for just one model, Merlin AI gives you access to all major ones for only $5 per month. Click on the link in the description and use our code FERN at checkout or scan the QR code. This is Albert Gonzalez. He's got a few things in common with Jonathan James. He was also born in the 80s. He too is a self-taught hacker. When he was 14, he also broke into NASA systems. And, as a consequence, he also got a visit by the FBI. But that didn't stop Gonzalez from hacking. Far from it. We don't know if Albert Gonzalez and Jonathan James knew each other, but they had a common hacker friend called Christopher Scott. Gonzalez went by many aliases on the internet, but his favorite was Soup Nazi, a reference to a Seinfeld episode.
You want bread? 3 down.
In the early 2000s, Gonzalez stumbled across Shadow Crew, a marketplace for trafficking stolen credit and bank card numbers and identity information. And even though the feds are having an eye on him, he gets involved. In 2003, he gets caught trying to pull cash from an ATM using fake credit cards. To avoid jail time, he agrees to work with the Secret Service. Soon, he helps them bust a bunch of Shadow Crew members. You'd expect that his work as an informant for the Secret Service would stop him from any criminal activity. But well, in his view, the salary from the Secret Service is too low. So he gets back to what he does best, hacking. He sets up an elaborate scheme he calls Get Rich or Die Trying. The scheme will turn into one of the world's biggest cases of identity theft. It'll ruin his life. But Jonathan James will end up dead. This is Scott, who is both friends with Gonzalez and James. Next to him sits someone who, according to criminal reports, is only known as JJ. They're doing something called war driving. It's a simple technique. You drive around in your car and park close to companies. You only need your laptop and a high-power radio antenna. Once you're close enough, you check for vulnerabilities in their Wi-Fi network. Back then, most companies weren't exactly taking cybersecurity seriously. Inside Office Max, people are buying Post-its and whiteboard markers in 4 colors, gearing up for a meeting that probably could have been an email. Outside, Scott and JJ access the store's Wi-Fi, and through that enter its systems. Once inside, they install a sniffer program, which captures and downloads credit and debit card data from customers. Then they send the data to Gonzalez. He forwards it to another hacker, who decrypts the PIN codes. Gonzalez and his crew don't just sell the stolen card info. They encode them onto blank magnetic strip cards and use those to pull tens of thousands of dollars out of ATMs. After the Office Max breach, banks were apparently forced to reissue around 200,000 cards. And this hack wasn't a one-off. Over the span of the next 3 years, Gonzalez and his crew hacked into several major U.S. companies, including BJ's Wholesale Club, Boston Market, Barnes & Noble, Forever 21, and others. Their biggest credit card data heist happens at TJX. That's the parent company of TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, and others. Around 96 million TJX customers are affected by the theft of their credit and debit card info. At the time, these attacks make up the largest case of identity theft in U.S. history. The crew stole the data of around 180 million credit and debit cards. The total damage of all infected companies amounts to roughly $400 million in reimbursements, legal costs, and forensic fees.
There's a major break in a credit card scam that affected millions of people.
Experts say this man's arrest may lead to the kingpin behind the biggest credit card ID theft in history.
The Secret Service investigates, and at one point, they realize that their very own informant is not only involved, but is a mastermind behind the TJX heist. May 2008, Pinecrest, Florida. Jonathan James is 24 years old now. He doesn't go to college. He doesn't have a job. His mother died of breast cancer 6 years ago. Together with his brother, he still lives in the house he grew up in. He apparently suffers from depression. Overall, he's living a withdrawn life and is retired from hacking. But today, he'll get another surprise visit. This time, it's the Secret Service. They raid the family's house, just like the FBI had done 8 years ago. They drew a connection from Gonzalez to Christopher Scott to him. They suspect that JJ is short for Jonathan James, and that he's part of the hacker group. The agents go through Jonathan's stuff. They find a suicide note he had written years ago, and a gun. We don't know if the agents offer him psychological help, but according to Jonathan, they don't confiscate the weapon. Jonathan is shocked. He swears that he has nothing to do with the TJX case. What's going on? On the subpoena, he's able to find some answers. He reads about this guy, Albert Gonzalez. Jonathan recognizes him by another nickname he used online. Gonzalez has been working as an informant for the feds since 2003. For 5 years, Gonzalez used Scott to pull off his hacks, while simultaneously running out other hackers to the feds to stay in their good graces. Jonathan is sure that Gonzalez is now trying to pin the hacks on Scott. And he's getting a bad feeling. He thinks he'll be a much more appealing target than Chris. It might not matter to the feds that he's innocent, even though, in his words, Scott and Gonzalez are the most destructive, dangerous hackers the feds ever caught. They'll let them off easy because he's a juicier target. that would please the public more. In Jonathan's mind, the picture is clear. They need a scapegoat. Not Gonzalez, not Scott, not the one who actually caused the damage, but him, Jonathan. In his words, the feds played dirty. He holds these beliefs for a reason. There's this paper that has made rounds in the hacker scene, Agent Steele's Guide to Getting Busted. It's basically a survival guide for hackers, written by one who ended up in prison. Agent Steele's real name was Justin Tanner Peterson. He was an American hacker who worked as an informant for the feds while continuing to commit crimes. Agent Steele writes, "The criminal justice system is a game to be played, both by prosecution and defense. And if you have to be a player, you'd be wise to learn the rules of engagement." He makes it clear that law enforcement isn't always fair. They play dirty and will do just about anything, including lying, to win their case. Jonathan read this guide, and he knows that Gonzalez is working with the feds, so he's convinced he's going to prison, even though he's innocent. The first time was already terrifying. He doesn't want to go through that again.
A man who works hard, sweats hard. All spies swallow fine sweat. So Coach thought I was slacking. You see this?
On May 18th, 2008, 2 weeks after agents raided his home, Jonathan was found dead in his home after a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Well, that's gonna be the end of this YouTube video, and
He wrote
bye.
down,